Welcome to it, folks. I'm Jed Drenning, and you are in the gun. As the calendar moves toward the holiday and the end of the year, it's probably natural to become at least a little reflective. And as you'll see in our final episode or two of 2025, as we start to wind things down and soon close out our fourth year here on ITG, we do indeed have some fun looking back at some of our favorite moments. We've been fortunate enough to have plenty of wild shows and awesome guests, but the standard bearer of them all dropped about this time last year, shortly after the news broke that Coach Rod was indeed returning to West Virginia. Our crew jumped on Zoom that night, eager to share our thoughts and excitement in a reaction episode to this massive news. But right before we hit the record button, I said in a what harm can it do kind of way to Owen, wait a minute, Big O, shoot McAfee a text and see if he wants to hop on to join the fun tonight. Owen shrugged, then fired a quick text to Pat. Before we had a chance to talk about it much further, Owen got a response. Send me the link. 2 minutes later, the four of us were joined by the biggest personality in sports media today to offer his very first on-camera reaction to the official news that the guy he and Owen played for, Rich Rodriguez, was indeed back at the helm in Morgantown. It was obviously a massive moment for our show. The traffic blew through the roof, and we couldn't keep count of the hundreds upon hundreds of new subs wanting more content from In the Gun. The steady growth we'd enjoyed as a podcast through the first 3 years suddenly shot up like a hockey stick chart. The way we see it, you can't have too many incredible moments or awesome memories in this lifetime. So why not run it back and let you guys revisit, rewatch, and relive the raw fun we all experienced that night as we ushered in the new by reflecting on the old, with, of course, an old friend. So, without any more yapping from me, here in its entirety is the most viewed episode in the history of this podcast, ITG 220 from last December, the night Pat McAfee joined In the Gun. Enjoy.
On this edition of In the Gun, it's time to hold the rope. It's time to spot the ball. It's an instant reaction. Rich Rodriguez is back as the 36th head coach of WVU football, and we've got Pat McAfee here to react with us on this edition of In the Gun.
You are now watching Believe.
ITG.
With Wes, Owen, and Jed.
I've got the best teammates in the business here, all right?
No way!
They both played the game. They both know the game. Owen is the runaway beer truck known for having some fun.
Owen Schmitt, you have a podcast, In the Gun.
Owen Schmitt, like a runaway beer truck down the sidelines.
Jed is the signal caller who is the X's and O's and the brainiac. So we've combined those two skill sets.
Skills I've acquired over a very long career.
You are In the Gun.
Once you enter this family, no getting out.
It's time for another episode of In the Gun. It's an instant reaction. It's the one you've been waiting for. The Mountaineers have a head football coach. And yes, it is Rich Rodriguez, the 32nd head coach in WVU football history, becomes the 36th head coach in WVU football history. 17 years later, it's Rich Rodriguez at the helm of the program. And real quick, guys, before we get into this is one of those instant reaction, no real structure type episodes. So a thank you to all of our sponsors. Cars cost less in Grafton. Fortis, for roof performance and financial certainty guaranteed. Visit fortis.us.com. And by Johnson Equipment, make sure you're checking out their location on Route 33 between Weston and Buchanan. Big O, we've got Pat McAfee joining us in just a few minutes, and I'm sure he's going to drop a few four-letter words because that's kind of what McAfee does. Here in our here in our ITG
Spot
circle,
and ball?
we that's right. For the brand means punt and four-letter words. Here though, like we're typically a PG-ish program. We occasional curse words, but we don't swear too much on this show. But Big O, holy shit, man! Like this is happening.
Dude, Rich Rod is back in the house. I am pumped. We got our good buddy and friend, accomplished man. I mean, he has literally done. He believes in in it, and it literally just happens. Can't wait for Pat to see how he feels. I mean, super excited. Hard edge, baby. We're back. Hold the rope, baby. We're back. Let's go, baby.
Jed, your old head coach is now once again the Mountaineers head coach. Owen's got an incredibly unique perspective on this, having played for Rich. People forget, though, you also played for Rich back before his Morgantown days. Your instant reaction, your first reaction here, Signal Caller.
I'm glad I can finally talk. I mean, it's been how many days? Over a week. I'm glad to speak on this whole situation, all the different possibilities that were playing out and unfolding. Again, Ren did a masterful job, a great job, a thorough job, as we fully expected him to do, right? And I've had conversations recently as Rich became a more and more viable candidate, with mutual friends. And I was thinking back to the first time I met Rich, and I've told this story recently. He was either 23 or 24. Rich was. He became the youngest head coach in college football at 24 when he was at Salem. When I first met Rich, Eric Alcar, who I backed up in high school, he was the quarterback 2 years ahead of me, went to Salem and was a free safety for Rich when Rich was the position coach on the staff at Salem before he was the head coach. So my junior year in high school, I went down there when Owen, he was living with Lonnie Warwick, another West Virginia legend there. So he was living with Lonnie, and I met him. And there was always just an intense energy to Rich, whether he's 23, 43, 60. And there's parts of him that absolutely have not changed since that time I first met him almost 40 years ago at all. That intensity has been omnipresent with this man. And some of it's all palpable. You feel it when you're around him. There's an energy that you can't help be energetic yourself. You can't. I wouldn't even say energetic. That might sound too rainbowy. I would say intense yourself. I mean, I always say that when it came to his pregame speech, like Wes, I recently told you the first ever strap it on speech. I told you the story behind the first ever time he gave that speech. Now, it reached the point by the time Owen and those guys were hearing it, they were finishing it for him. And then we're going to do what? We're going to strap it on. Well, I remember Owen the first time he gave that speech.
No more air in your helmet. Right? No more tape on your wrist.
The first time he did it was my junior year at Glenville, and we were playing the fourth-ranked team in the country, which was West Virginia State. And they smacked us around the year before. We didn't have our whole offense installed. We were kind of a work in progress. They sacked me, I'm not exaggerating, 20 times. I was sacked 32 times in 2 games, 20 in that game alone. Rich couldn't look at my parents after the game. So they physically beat us up, West Virginia State did. So the next year, when they came to town, that off season, all we did was modify everything and put in the rest of the offense. So we went from, oh no, it's cover zero, to I dare you to bring cover zero. I dare you to bring that extra blitzer. Dare you, double dog dare you. Well, sure enough, West Virginia State came out and they thought they could do the same thing, but they were a very physical team. They had a Georgia transfer at quarterback. And Rich, before we took the field, he'd never given these strap-it-on speech, right? And before he took the field, he started into it. And watching this thing take shape and breathe its way into life, I'm thinking back to it now, and it's just become this thing that has been around now for 30 years, that every Mountaineer fan knows it, every Arizona fan knows it, even every Michigan fan, hate the guy, like the guy. You knew the strap it on speech. Jacksonville State, same speech. So the intensity was just his way of just those guys. I can't wait to get out there, and they think they're running into what they ran into last year. They have no idea what we're about to do. And he just started telling us they think they're coming to do this. Well, guess what? They're wrong. They better put a little more air in their helmets. They better put a few extra pads on. They better tape that tape a little tighter, and they better strap it on. And we just went nuts. So it reached a point in playing for Rich as a quarterback. All right. I looked at it as, look, I'm not Owen. I'm not busting face masks and beating the living hell out of people. Mine was a thinking man's game. I had to out-strategize people, all right? Nobody wanted me trying to punch somebody or bust a face mask. Something really wrong if I'm busting a face mask. So Owen's game was physicality and brawn, and it carried him to the NFL. He was so good at it and so physical, a perfect fit for Rich. Well, I was kind of the other side of Rich, because there's a very cerebral side to Rich. There really is. And it reached a point with these pregame speeches that the last thing I wanted was to be fired up walking out of that locker room. And I had no interest in that. I wasn't running through a brick wall. No, I was strategizing and trying to diagnose things and read coverages and stay one step ahead of the defensive coordinator. That was my game. So it finally reached a point where I couldn't take it. When Rich would give a speech, I go back into the equipment room to escape it. I didn't want to hear it. I did not, because I knew if I heard it, he'd get me so amped up and I wouldn't be thinking straight. So I would just avoid it, Owen. And meanwhile, you and I represent complete opposites of the spectrum of the type of people that play for this guy. And we both had incredible success because of the way he approaches it. But all of it, the common link was that edge, that physicality, that intensity, and that's still there. And what I like and what I'm excited about, and I'm so excited to hear what Pat's remarks are, but I like the fact that, look, you're not taking over a terrible situation. Look, we've given Neil Brown all the credit in the world, and some people say more than we should have, right? But guess what? One of the things I give Neil Brown credit about is he's passing a very steady baton off to Rich Rodriguez. This isn't a mess. It's not in disarray. The program's not disjointed in a bad spot, and you have all kind of chaos in the locker room. That's not the issue. So Rich is going to at least have a puncher's chance to step into the building, sort things through, start his evaluation process in a fair and manageable way. Nothing's ideal. There's always difficulty in transition, no doubt about it. And there'll be some hiccups because he does see the world differently in different ways than Neil did. But there'll be some growing pains, but not to the extent that you would have in a lot of coaching hires. A lot of time coaches are hired because you went 2-10 the last 2 years. Your roster's terrible. Everybody's transferring out. That's not the case. Okay. It's a solid footing that he's taken over, and that excites me maybe even more. So there's so many things about this, guys, and I want you to pipe in as well. So many things about this that I'm eager to hear from Pat about, that I'm eager to see how it gets rolling. Does it activate the financial side of things the way we hope it does, the way we think it does, the way we've heard it will? Does it do that? And for that matter, I mean, who's going to be able to tolerate his type of coaching? Because, Owen, you and I both know it's not for everybody. It's not for the faint of heart. Modern kid or old school kid, there's still some old school kids playing football right now, plenty of them. They don't get enough credit, and we're about to find out who on the roster, who in the building, and who they want to bring in has that old school mentality that likes hard coaching. And, they got some of it from Neil's staff, but it's going to be almost nonstop from this staff.
Buddy, and, there's no substitute for being a tough guy. Being one of those kind of football players, those are the guys that last. You know what I mean? I'm going to say I wasn't a great NFL player at all. You know what I mean? I wasn't. I was a guy who was a special teams guy, got some small PT or whatever. But it was because I was willing to do all those other things, right? Go the extra mile, do the extra workouts, right? Be that tough physical guy, because that's what coaches want. That's the respect factor I have of Coach Rod. Really is the attention to the discipline of detail. As simple as putting your hand behind the line and like not on the line when you're doing sprints, like that level of detail, that minute detail. And I don't even know what the reason was. Okay, it was just because you just did it, right? And it worked. It just worked. The hard work always, it just seemed like it made things easier. I don't know if if you don't want to get coached like that either, you're not gonna grow as an athlete. You won't. You just won't.
I remember Bill Curry talking in NFL films, talking about how when you play for a coach that has that kind of edge, he creates kind of this you and your teammates against the world mentality. Yeah. You're trying to deal with this crazy guy in practice every day. And it really is crazy, and it really is intense, and everything is on fire, nonstop every day. So literally, by the time people say this all the time, and I think it kind of feels hollow to suggest it because it's overused, this analogy. But when you go through that level of nonstop, everyday intensity, I'm telling you, you're taking the donuts off the bat when you show up on Saturday. The hard work is behind you. What is in front of you on Saturday is nothing compared to what you've been through Monday through Friday.
Oh, baby. Oh, baby.
I think Owen froze up. He's so excited.
I think Owen might have froze up there. He's so excited. But that's good, because if you're watching on YouTube, you see we have the full Monty, the full cast here when it's a big moment like we do. Our guy Schuyler Callihan on here as well. So before we get to McAfee in just a minute here, Schuyler, you're more of the savvy news hound of the ITG crew, right? You're the one who's really writing stories and checking sources and all these different things. When did you think that this was a real possibility and going to happen? And what's been your reaction here in the moments since?
It's probably been a few days. I think I kind of got an idea that it was a real possibility probably whatever the day was before their conference championship game. Was it last Thursday or last Friday? But really, I think things started to pick up on what would that be, Monday or Tuesday night, and I started to get some information. And because of some of my ties, I can't necessarily report everything like maybe somebody else can, because it kind of,
that's the game. That's how the game works.
So I'm kind of like Jed in that sense. Like most times when I'm dealing with portal kids or recruiting or any other news, like I can just unleash everything, not necessarily in this case. So I had to kind of keep it as close to the vest as I could. But I've had this one ready for a few days. I had the article all typed up. I've got actually like 6 other articles ready to go on stuff about Rich Rod. So
I thought you were going to say I had a Brian Hartline article. I had an Andy Kotelnicki article. I had a Munkin article.
I had Belichick.
I had Rich Rod and one other.
You had a Dana Holgerson article. I mean,
one other candidate I had ready, and then once I got more information, I said, "The heck with this! I'm pulling an all-nighter." The little girl was cooperating, so I'm like, I'm gonna go ahead and knock this out. I've got 6 things to go. I want to get on. So I got portal kids to look at, coaches that may follow Rich, bunch of other stuff. So yeah, it's been a whirlwind. It's fun. Most people don't like covering this stuff. I think it's exciting because it even as a journalist or someone that covers the team, it provides like hope of something exciting happening.
Mm-hmm.
And
you've been glued to your phone for like 8
Hey,
days.
this has been a good one though.
It has. This
has been like strung out. It's like drama TV.
Yeah. My favorite, can I just say, my favorite thing in the past week was when Owen tweeted out the bat signal with Rich Rod's face and everyone started losing their minds. But then like 10 minutes later, Owen tweeted at Andy Kotelnicki saying, "My man," or whatever. And everyone was like, "Big O, what the hell is going on, dude?" And
the highlight.
Listen. You were like, "Rich Rod's my former coach. Kotelnicki and I played college ball together. I'm just saying hi to my boys. Just relax."
The highlight, though, had to be Pac-Man, though. I mean,
oh my God.
Oh, boy.
I don't know if he's opened his eyes yet from how.
I wonder if he remembers.
I don't know
he was.
That may have irked a few people wrong in the higher ups, I'm sure, but it was funny nonetheless.
What
Man
a time to be alive,
dude.
Gentlemen. What a time to be alive! I tell you,
he's offering up bags for turnover.
Yeah, dude.
Hey, I got eligibility left.
I was just gonna say, when's walk on? Do we still do walk on tryouts anymore? Because I might get out there, my old busted self. Oh man! Well, if you think we're laughing now, if you think we're having fun now, on the other side, the king of sports media, not probably the most prominent Mountaineer. It's funny. We had been kind of going back and forth with McAfee, trying to get him on the show at times throughout the 2-year history of this podcast. And wow, did it all come together to have him on at the perfect time. Pat McAfee, when we return on the other side, you are in the gun.
For nearly 20 years, Fortis has been the nation's leader in providing guaranteed roof performance programs for commercial buildings. Fortis offers roof performance solutions that feature extensive initial and ongoing reconditioning for commercial buildings as an alternative to traditional replacement, with long-term performance guarantees that are backed by global leader Lloyd's of London. Fortis offers a comprehensive range of roof performance management programs that provide financial security, extend the life of our customers' roofs, and make a significant impact on ROI. Fortis is currently improving performance and increasing ROI for customers at more than 4,800 locations, with more than 140 million square feet protected, including many Fortune 500 companies that have turned to Fortis to save money, gain financial certainty, and extend the life of their existing roofs. Fortis has helped customers save more than $520 million in capital roof replacement costs for an average ROI of over 250%. To learn more, visit fortis.us.com. Fortis, roof performance and financial certainty guaranteed.
Nobody supports the blue and gold Mountaineers like Toothman Ford. With over 20 NIL deals and counting, Toothman Ford continues to rally behind our student athletes. And it's time we rally and support the dealer that supports the Mountaineers. Not only does Toothman Ford offer the best prices in the state on pre-owned, their never over MSRP campaign on new Fords guaranteed to save you thousands. Drive with pride all season long, knowing you're supporting the dealer that fuels our Mountaineers. Toothman Ford, where cars cost less, in Grafton and at toothmanford.com.
You're listening to Mountaineer Football Talk.
ITG.
Get all your Mountaineer gear in WVU apparel at the Book Exchange. They're the locally owned and operated retailer with more than 90 years of selling everything you need for game day and everything else you need to show you're the ultimate WVU fan. Shop at their 2 locations at downtown Morgantown or Evansdale on Pattison Drive, or online at bookexchangewv.com.
When shopping online at bookexchangewv.com, be sure to enter code INTHEGUN20 at checkout for an awesome savings of 20%. That's right, 20%.
When the sun's just rising and the work won't wait, you need the equipment that works just as hard as you do. Johnson Equipment delivers power, performance, and reliability day in, day out. Whether you're plowing fields, hauling loads, or planting the future, our tractors are built to take it and then some. Strong, reliable, ready.
Low-rate financing available on select Coyote models.
Johnson Equipment, farming made easy.
Immediate reaction is just,
well,
I'm incredibly pumped. For Coach Rod to finish his story. You know, like that's what I think he, if he's anything like me, and he and I think both received death threats over the way that 13-9 game ended. And the way that season ended. And it's like, for me, I think about it every single day still. Every day at some point, it pops up. And it's heavy. You know, it's like a very heavy thing. So I think like talking to Coach Rod through over the last couple of weeks, you know, if this is possible, I'm like, hey, man, I know like your coaching resume doesn't need it. And like, I know that you're one of the greatest football coaches of all time, regardless of what happens. And what you've been able to do here with Jacksonville State is fantastic. But I want to let you know that if I was able to help you, and you go back and win there, the Natty, like you would take a lot of weight off of my conscience. And I think like I think he feels the same exact way. Like I think if he's anything like me, he thinks about it still every single fucking day. And I think he does. And I think he wants to make it right. That's kind of like how my understanding of it all is. And I think it's one of the coolest things that ever happened. And I'm very thankful and pumped that Red made this decision.
Man, well said,
What
Pat.
perspective. Owen, go.
Well said. Honestly, like I feel like this is unfinished business. You know what I mean? Like, I don't. Who knows why the world works the way it does? You know, you make things happen. People think collectively as a whole. Ideas will happen. They happen. It's absolutely insane right now to think that we're back where we need to be. And I was talking to Midland Trail coach, Jeremy Moore. I don't know if you remember him, played on the line. He coaches at Trail. He's the head coach. We were just bullshitting and basically saying, you know, now we're going to, you know, we'll feel more welcome. Like there was never that time we got to really enjoy after, you know what I mean? The program, we had success and then it just like ended, and it's like you come back and it's just a different feel and a vibe. I don't know. There's just an energy, man. It's you have to be a part of it. You have to be inside of it. You have to get all the way up in it, man. And I'm so thankful it's back.
Yeah,
So
Owen, to your point, you know, whenever I went back for the first time, long time, I was like looking for like Pat White's like statue almost. I'm like, all right, so where's Pat White's statue at? You know, like where is Steve Slayton's, you know, like where's the beer truck at? And you start looking around and it's hard to see a lot of our era. You know, it's hard to see a lot of our era. And I think a lot of us took a lot of pride in what we did. And obviously we weren't able to win a national championship. And obviously I have a massive piece and reason for why that wasn't the case. So I think like we feel like we let everybody down. But then you look back on it and what happened to the facility, what happened to the stadium, what happened to the campus after our run. It's like there's a lot for us to be fucking proud of too, you know? And it's like, I think going back there and walking around and coaching at that spring game, I felt like an immense sense of pride. Like, you know, like we helped a lot of this shit. And I didn't see one thing of Rich Rodriguez anywhere in that building. Did you? I didn't see.
Oh, dude.
There will be now. There will be now.
I didn't see a single. And I think Rich, you got to remember, like, Rich's mom still lives there. Miss Rita's mom still lives there. Like, I know there's people that are certainly still upset about everything, and I think he knows that and understands that. But like, Rich is a West Virginia boy that went to West Virginia, who has family in West Virginia. He's done a lot of great things for that university. And like, I think he knows that like it's never really talked about because of how it all ended. So I think he really wants to go back and make it right. And I think it is going to be a very welcoming time for a team. You know, I think from my understanding of how things are about to go, I think there's going to be a lot of want for alumni to be around. I think there's going to be a lot of like hope for alumni to be around, you know, because that culture is one that it's not easy. Not everybody's cut out for that culture, you know, like the hard edge thing is real.
Yeah.
You know, like he wants every position to be tough. Like that is what he wants. Like he wants a tough guy at every, he's told me that talking to him here the last couple of days, he's like, the people of West Virginia want a tough team. Like that's what they want. They want a tough team. And he said, I think I'm from West Virginia. That's why I make tough teams. He said, like, my teams are tough. And I think it's because I am a West Virginian. And it's like, he's going to have to find his guys, which I think is possible with the way the transfer portal is. You will look at what Kurt Signetti was able to do coming over from JMU to Indiana. Indiana had much less resources. Now, he was able to raise a bunch of money, Kurt Signetti, because he was had people believing in what he was selling. But it's like Indiana football had been dead for 50 years. It's like Rich is coming in to a P4 program that has a great history, great facilities, great opportunity. I think there is money people, from what I've been told, that are involved and interested. And it's like, everything's right in front for us. So like, let's go do this and let's flip the script almost. And let's get back to doing that. So I'm really excited, man. I'm really, really excited. And I'm pumped for Coach Rod, man. You know, like I know deep down in his gut and his soul, he wishes he could redo everything, you know, like how it all went. And it's like, now you got a chance, bub. Here we go.
Yep. Absolutely.
I just thought you gave a perspective. Owen, you too. You were both involved. I thought I'd considered every angle of the Pitt game. And the perspective that Pat just gave, there's an opportunity at redemption. If you come home and see this thing through and bring that elusive Natty back to Morgantown. And Pat, if you play a role in helping that happen off the field. But what I want to ask you, let's put the cart way before the horse. Okay, the 800-pound gorilla is already in the room. We talked about the Pitt loss in 2007. Let's talk about it. West Virginia's first game is against an FCS opponent next year. Our second game is on the road at Ohio U. Good Ohio U team. But if you can start the season 2-0, Pitt has one MAC team to play before they play West Virginia in Morgantown. They could be 1-0. What I'm asking you is on September 13th, in other words, 9/13, when Pitt comes to Morgantown to play West Virginia, what are the odds you'll be in town with your new friends as the biggest game in college football for week 3 action in front of Coach Rod?
So I think, you know, this last year, that Penn State game, when I brought my show on Friday, Owen stopped by. What a time. How hot was it?
Oh.
It was so hot. It was so hot.
It was a blast.
It was awesome, but it was so hot. And there was like 5,000-6,000 students, I think, that ended up stopping by. They projected that were up on the walls and up on the hills and everything. It was so hot. Like, that was so cool. But it was like 100 and some degrees. I mean, legitimately. But I thought that game. Go ahead.
Technical difficulties with the generators, dude. It was so hot.
So hot. Yeah, they almost cooked the generators.
Yeah, like legit.
But you still had thousands of kids out there, you know, showing up because they were like, they were in. It's like
they were all in, dude.
And I think, like, I don't want to say like that showed to people, but like at the game, in the game day meetings, you know, on game day, anytime the Big 12 gets mentioned, all the way up until West Virginia was mathematically eliminated, I would say West Virginia's got a chance. Hey, West Virginia still has a road. Hey, West Virginia still has a road, you know? So these people like are relearning about West Virginia, because you remember back in the day, whenever West Virginia, and I'm going to go back to the Rich Rod era and the Owen Schmitt era, but it was like that was before the NFL was on Thursday night, and we were
the hot
Thursday
ticket.
night team. I mean, that was we had the ratings. You remember we had the ratings on the wall on plaques in the building.
Yep.
It was like most watched Thursday night football game, second most watched Thursday night football game, third most Thursday night. It was like we were a popular brand. Then NCAA 2K comes along, and Owen and Pat White and Steve Slayton are unstoppable. And it's like the brand of West Virginia was gigantic. And these game day people, they've all been on game day for like 30 years, all of them. So they've like seen the ups and downs everywhere. So whenever I start bringing back West Virginia up, they're all like kind of excited because they remember the good times when they were in Morgantown or whenever they were calling games on Thursday night in Morgantown and what Morgantown can be. So I think game day would be very excited to get to Morgantown, West Virginia, or to any West Virginia game. I think that is like very clear, very evident. And this year I think Pitt, West Virginia, there was an opportunity, but then chose not to or whatever. So yeah, I think that is certainly viable. And think about this too. Bill Belichick just got signed to UNC. You know, Barry Odom coming out of UNLV went to Purdue. Tresselman or whatever his name was down in Tulane, he stays there. Rich Rod back to West Virginia is going to be the biggest buzzy. That's going to be that's like the story.
Absolutely.
You know? Like, that's the story. And I think we're going to do something on Friday. I mean, we're going to try to really make sure people not only remember what West Virginia can be, but also like respect and appreciate what it is now. We're a sports school. We're a football school. And the basketball team, and we're a basketball school as well. It's like, I think people forget about the sleeping giant in Morgantown. It's still there. And now they just need a reason. And I think Rich is going to reignite a reason for people to get excited. Now, not that I like Neil. Neil was a great guy, legitimately. I think Neil Brown was a great dude. But like change and moving on, I think you can really spark and ignite some things. And I would assume game day goes to West Virginia game or two, especially if you win.
It's a hell of a promo. That's a hell of a promo right there, I tell you. I mean, we cut that and get everybody going.
For game day.
Pat,
when did you activate it? Go ahead, Wes.
I was just going to say, you know, it's been what now, 9 or 10 days since Ren Baker announced, you know, that there was going to be a change and that they were parting ways with Neil Brown. In that moment, did you think Rich was a realistic possibility that this was really going to happen? Or when did you think like, hey, this could really happen?
I mean, hasn't Rich kind of been like the thought for a few years now for people?
That's a good point. People have been talking. I mean, they always talk. Rich or Jimbo, right, Pat? You know how it is. Anytime something would go wrong, get one of the West Virginia
Since
guys
2019.
back in here.
Yeah. So like, I think his name's been up in Jimbo, obviously great West Virginia, great football coach. Interesting how that Texas A&M thing all, I don't know, that's an interesting, and Jimbo, obviously, I've only talked to him one time. We had some wings together in the backstage green room area at a stadium, and he sat right across from me. And I'll tell you what, I could hear Jimbo eat every single one of those wings, but also I appreciated his conversation. He was a good dude. He was good dude, cool dude to me. But I don't know if Jimbo was, I don't know how the process went there with Ren, but I think like Rich, for me, just as somebody who is very lucky to cover college football the way that I do with College Game Day, you know, we get access and we see like everything. Like I get to see like how other places operate. I get to see how other people's alumni get treated. I get to see, you know, what wins, what doesn't win. I get a chance to see like what teams are really taking advantage of. Like I feel like I've gotten a crash course, almost a doctorate in college football over the last few years with College Game Day, because the people I've been able to talk to, the buildings I've been able to see, and the rules and all that shit, you know? And the people that I hang around with on that show, they've been in college football literally, let alone Coach Saban, who's the GOAT, you know what I mean? So he's like right there for any help. So I just always thought that the way Rich Rodriguez operated, if he was able to connect with the modern athlete, which he's obviously proving to be able to do at Jacksonville State, like those are the teams that win. The teams that are like attention to detail, the teams that are disciplined, the teams that work hard, the teams that are physical, like those are the teams that win still in football. There's a lot of other styles of playing football. Okay, there always is going to be. But in 2024, it feels like in college football and in the NFL, it's like the tough teams are the ones that win. And I think with the Big 12 the way it is, I mean, you look at Arizona State, Cam Scadaboo, he's a dog. The way they play football and able to turn around quickly, it's like they're a tough team. They have an edge to them. It's like I think Rich Rod brings that immediately. And like So yeah, I thought of him as soon as Ren announces that there's a head. I think everybody that ever played for him probably thought of him immediately and was like, "Hey, this is a guy that should be able to do it." But there were a lot of other candidates that were up that I was hearing from and talking to and everything like that. Because everybody was, since I'm in the college football world, everybody gets my phone number, and then I have to relay that message. I have to relay that message to Ren. I'm like, "Hey, Ren, insert name here just reached out. Was wondering."
Middleman McAfee.
It was unbelievable, yeah. But all the while, I want Ren. So it's like a.
Yeah.
I was trying not to put more pressure on Ren, but also like letting him know, hey, would be supportive. However, but like if one guy gets picked, I'm probably going to be a bit. It's probably a lot easier for me to be a bit more involved. Like
no doubt. If Rich gets the job, hard edge activated and Pat McAfee. But Pat, when you and Owen and Steve and Pat, whoever it might be, when you guys tell your stories, there's a timeless thing with Rich that you sound like me and Gibby and Chris George and Shane Haddix, the same stories we told from the 90s. In other words, we always, like before games, we'd have these conversations. Is there any way, instead of playing the game, look, we want to play the game, but what if the official comes in and said, we're going to decide this game with a fist fight between the head coaches at the 50? We'd sign up right away. And you guys talk like you felt the same way. But what I want to ask you,
who was the
modern game
Maryland?
What's that?
Maryland guy almost got it. You remember that?
Oh, the big
Ralph Friesian.
The fridge.
Hey, yeah. I'd like to see Rich Rod fist fight Pat Narduzzi at the 50-yard line on September 13th.
Let's count on it. Let's count on it.
Hey, listen, Rich is Oh, and you remember his ass doing that Stairmaster stepper thing every fucking morning?
Oh, dude, he's an animal, bro.
He's still doing it. He's doing it.
That's why he's in good a shape as he is, man.
He's still doing it. I brought it up. I brought it up to him. I'm like, "Are you still the asshole on the Stairmaster?"
That's a discipline, dude.
And he's like, "Every morning, 40 minutes, hard edge room."
Oh, God.
I'm in the hard edge room. He said, "Stairmaster, 25-pound dumbbell." I mean, it is. But yeah, we were okay with Rich Rod fighting anybody. And this actually came up this past weekend because the flag planting stuff that happened.
Yeah.
And everybody had a lot of different reactions. It was like, do you remember everybody wanted to fight us like pregame there for a while. Our West Virginia team, like
we had some chippy guy. We had the little, Vaughn, you know what I mean? He'd be a little chippy out there, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we were not scared. We were not running away from it, but I'm saying there seemed to be pregame shenanigans.
Yes.
in a lot of our things. So me getting on game day, I would have been like the biggest hypocrite being like, these teams fighting are bad for. So like, I didn't want to say that. So I was just like, hey, if somebody plants a flag on your field and you want to go fight them, like, I think that's a natural reaction. In football, like, I think that is in football. That's the way it is.
More natural.
But I think we feel the same way about Rich though. Like, I think we knew that who's that guy down in South Florida, the guy that used to run the sprints. He had the blonde hair, super intense.
Levitt.
Yeah.
I used to think if him and Rich clashed, that could have been a good, you know what I mean? But everybody else, I think Rich could have handled. Yeah, no problem. But I don't know if honestly, it's been like 20 years. How many years it's been since he's been back? Like, I think he's learned a lot through his journeys.
Yeah.
I think he's learned a lot. He's coached his kid since then, like Rhett's been on his team. So he's gone through that. Like, I think he'll never lose who he is. Obviously, like he'll never lose ever. Yeah. But I think he has evolved a lot, which I'm like excited to watch. I'm excited to see how it is.
The one thing
he wakes up. Go ahead, Schuyler.
The one thing I think's missing that's going to come back with Rich Rod is the swagger. Because if you go back to like, sure, it was there with Tavon and Gino for a little bit, but outside of that, like West Virginia's been good when it's had a swagger, right? When you go back to the Dandy Don era and Major Harris, and then you fast forward to Pat White, Steve Slayton, Owen Schmitt, and you, Pat, and like there was always a swagger to those West Virginia teams, and I don't think that's been existence in the last decade or so. You had the swagger and the toughness. That's a big part of it too, I think, and just like you've mentioned on your show a lot too, the brand, like that brand is pretty freaking cool. Like the Flying WV is one of the most popular logos in all of sports, and now you have the guy that really helped kind of bring it to life and put it on the national stage coming back. I don't think it could go any better.
Yeah, I'm pumped. Owen, I think I'm going to see a lot more of you, which is good. Are you going to drive that beater-ass car up to Morgantown or what?
Dude, just replaced the motor and a legacy, bro. I'm rolling on wheels now.
Can we
need
just
to get a gig up there? You need to get a gig up there, dude. Why don't you go work in a building?
You could be back in Morgantown, man.
I mean, I just need to reach out.
Yeah, you do. You should do that. Actually, let's do
Dude,
that.
I got a cushy job at UPS, all right? It makes some pretty good money, dude. You know,
I know. You look cool. You look cool in that brown. You look good in that brown.
Cushy
all
money.
Right, boys.
Pat,
hey, I appreciate you guys having me
we
on.
Appreciate
it's an honor.
Pat, thanks so much, man. We really
appreciate
appreciate it.
Hey,
Go Mountaineers.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much.
See you guys. Appreciate you.
Later, dog.
Appreciate Pat.
I'm just saying.
You got experience with that.
Coaching.
The coaching is tough, man, and it really does. If you just got to decipher through the junk, dude. You just listen to what the criticism was, forget what else was there. You know what I mean? That was just color. Okay, that's how they send the message. Okay, man, you just got to accept it and listen to what it was, and then there's a couple words you might have to forget. You know what I mean? You were ever called.
Well, what was that? You told us one time in the NFL. What was that story you told us about tough coaching?
Oh, man. So, yeah, something I wanted to mention, too, was probably the biggest compliment really to Coach Rod. Going in NFL Combine, interviewing with teams, and I'm sitting down and he asks, can you take tough coaching? He's asking questions, whatever. And he looks over on his sheet and it says Rich Rodriguez, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you can take tough coaching." Yeah, I mean that's when people know, that's the mentality. You know what I'm saying? That's what they really want. They want a guy who's going to listen to what's going on and execute and get it done. You know what I mean? Coach says jump, you say how high, not in a bad way. You know what I mean? If you just do it like that, you'll win. Okay. I don't know why. It's part of the process, man. It's like
do you remember
sauce and everything.
And sometimes it's in a bad way. Sometimes it's in a bad way.
Oh, and do you remember?
But it's just you gotta just embrace the whole thing because it's the closest you can get to family. You know what I mean? Without really being family.
The one thing I want to add to that is, if you watch, and there's no right or wrong way to do it. You can have success either way. Like Hug sat there on a stool for how many years, and he never really got into it, but he always won. But when you look at the way Darren DeVries coaches for basketball, that son of a gun gets into it, man. He's like a sixth defender. And you can see it was evident in the Georgetown game that when he got into it and got the crowd pumped up, it got the team energized. And it's the same thing in football. Neil's kind of a more relaxed, chill guy. And that's okay. But when you have a guy like Rich that's just a tough son of a, you want to go run through a wall for someone like that.
And with Rich, you don't see a different gear very often. I mean, there's some level of intensity to everything he does, from holding a staff meeting to a team meeting. It's just now he can turn it on for the media, no doubt about that, with the best of them, right? But I just remember, and again, Owen, there's so many common threads. And we've talked about this so many times through the years, you and your teammates, me and my teammates. But I think back to our time at Glenville, which, was the springboard for Rich to jump into these bigger things. And there's so many ways you can describe what he did at Glenville. He took over a program that had two choices: drop football or hire this young guy. We were the worst team in the country. We had the lowest budget in the country. We were winless. I think we scored 30 points in 9 games before he was hired. None of us were there. We all transferred in later. But Rich takes the job, and it was the Florida State multiplier. It was Bobby Bowden's offense. They win 1 game the first year. They weren't very competitive, but in a couple games. So what he does is he goes out before the portal existed and got 16 of us to transfer in, 16 new starters out of 22. And the one thing that we all had common was we had to fall in line very quickly with all these disparate backgrounds. We all came from different places, junior colleges, Marshall University. We came from WVU. We were all from different places, but we all quickly recognized you better fall in line behind this guy. You have no choice. Fall in line. So all of a sudden, boom, we all fit so well together. All these misfits from everywhere. He always called you guys the misfit, the island of misfit toys. Well, the same thing's always been true with those teams. We just came together and fell in line behind him. And there was a certain fear that you're like, I better do what I'm told. I better do this. I better do that. And of all the things he did, we installed an offense nobody else was running. And there were 3 teams in the country that were running spread offenses throwing like we were. Well, guess what? The other 2 teams weren't going up tempo, no huddle. We were the only team doing that. So he was always trying to stay ahead of the curve on everything. So there was tons of innovation. I remember American Football Coaching Quarterly. It was a big deal. They wanted to do a cover article, a feature article on the Glenville State spread offense. That was a huge deal for Rich. And I remember we gained all this recognition because of our innovation and Chris George catching 430 passes, shattering Jerry Rice's all-level career reception record, which was 310. Chris broke that the first game of his senior year. So there were people coming that had nothing to do with Glenville football from all over West Virginia and surrounding states to watch our offense. It was all innovation. That being said, I wind up to make this point. A lot of people look at it as he was so innovative, he was so creative outside the box, this and that. But if you ask me to distill the reason for our success at Glenville into one word, what was that team that made you win games, that propelled you from where you were at this low point to the national championship 4 years later? It was one word. We were tough. Absolutely tough, period. And every time we stepped on the field, it was fun to play other teams that kind of thought they were tough, right? I mean, that's the culture of some other teams, right? Because all week long you're thinking, oh, they think they're tough. That's kind of cute, right? They think they're tough. But as the game approaches, you're like, dude, you don't know what tough is. You have no idea what we're dealing with this guy. You have no idea what we're prepared for. You don't know what toughness is. You really do. You just think you do, but you're about to find out you kind of really don't. And Owen, I can tell when I talk to you, you felt exactly the same way.
Oh, Jed, I'm thinking of inside run right now. Like inside run was 10 plays, 10 ISOs. All right. Like we're running them back to back to back. And dude, I mean, you had to be a tough guy. It was fun playing like that. Yeah, you were sore and all that other whatever. You didn't even it was just so much fun being like that. Because man, it made the games easy, like Jed just said. I mean, I remember playing Pittsburgh that first year that I was playing. It would have been my Richard's sophomore year. And it was at home, miserable, cold.
Freezing cold.
Freezing cold, dude.
I was maybe the coldest football game I've ever been to in my life.
Yeah, absolutely. My little brother Taylor, he didn't wear his shirt that game. He it was nuts. It was brutal. He's an absolute freak show. But they were turning their backs, man. They were turning their backs. They didn't want to get hit anymore. That's how freaking downhill and hardcore we were physical. I mean, that's why we were so good. I agree. The scheme was there. It's the method to his madness, but the hard edge is as true of anything as it is. It's a legit thing. You earn it. You earn it.
Oh,
man.
you and I are members of a club, right? And it's a vast club. It's a club that casts a very wide net, and there's a lot of members in it. And I've talked to former Mountaineers that talk just like you and I do that played for them, former Pioneers, folks at other schools that have played for them, and we all are singing kind of the same tune. And when you think about it, what's paired with the toughness is the swagger. Okay. And I think the swagger, I've thought about this many times through the years. How did he do such a great job of capturing that and almost being able to bottle it and just feed it to us? Right. Well, I think a big part of it was he's always been infatuated with staying ahead of the curve in terms of what's new in the game, right? What's everybody else doing? I got to do something different. Well, this offense was so wildly different than what anybody was doing. Our version of it at Glenville was different. And then he continued to change it and stayed different with what he was doing with you guys, with Pat, with Steve, with Owen. And then in addition to that, nobody was rugby punting when we started rugby punting, even on special teams, even in the transition units, nobody was running the odd stack. Very few teams were running the odd. So all those things were different. And what happens is, when you get kids to buy in that they're doing something different and unique, Owen, you were part of this. I was too. There's something cool about that. You're like, man, I'm part of a clique that nobody else is part of. We're doing this a very different way. And then when you have the proof of concept set in, when you see it actually work, when this very different, unique thing you're doing, you see it work and you see the other team doesn't have answers. I mean, sometimes, again, I always say that when I threw for all these gazillion yards, it was like cheating back then. Nobody knew how to defend these spread offenses. Now it's hard. I mean, you have to do what Rich is doing and do these different things to stay ahead of the curve. But back then, you still had big, heavy, padded linebackers trying to cover slots, and they had no idea what they were doing. And sometimes you'd want to laugh. Guys were so open that I was throwing to. But the swagger comes because you're doing something different and it's working, and that makes you kind of bow up and you're like, whoa, we are special. There's something special. We're tough as hell, but we're also kind of special. And I remember there'd be reporters, and sometimes they would ask me late in the season, okay, like the second, third year we're in the offense. I mean, we're just shredding everybody, and nobody's running this stuff. And they'd say, well, hey, Jed, what do you think? You're about to face, I don't know, Fairmont, and they have the number one ranked defense in the West Virginia Conference. Do you think you'll be able to do this, against them? Why do you think they have the number one ranked defense? And right away, my mind went to because they haven't played us. We haven't dropped 550 on them. Let us go out and drop our 550 on them and then tell me where they're ranked. Because that's how you think. There was no doubt in your mind. That's funny. You think that's kind of neat. You think they're number one. That scares you. Yeah. At 550 yards, which we're going to drop on their ass this week, let's see where they are in the rankings after that, okay? But that's the swagger. Owen, when you guys had the Yankee caps and all that, you had that swagger. We had that swagger. Jacksonville State has that swagger. So, look, the ending, as we know, was problematic. It was less than ideal. It was so rough around the edges and ugly. And bad things happen when people are in dark places. Rich was in a terrible, dark place after that Pitt game, the worst place I've ever seen him. And again, I've known the guy 40 years, close to it. West Virginia fans were in a dark place. Everybody was in a bad place after that Pitt loss. And bad things tend to happen. Bad things tend to happen. You make bad decisions on down the line when you're in a bad place. And then it's compounded by the fact when you involve litigation to what's already a bad situation, it's going to get even uglier. Now there's going to be mudslinging. Some things true, some things not true. Some things stick, some things don't stick. So it just led to this horrible, wretched outcome into what was one of the most incredible runs that we've ever experienced as Mountaineer fans. So I loved hearing what Pat had to say about that. That was beautiful. It was an insight that I had never considered. How would I consider it? This is a guy who blames himself for it, for crying out loud. As unjust as that is, Pat blames himself because of the missed chip shots. Are you kidding me? Okay. Did you go out and get Pat White hurt for 2.5 quarters? There were so many things that went awry in that game and so many reasons that unfolded that didn't break our way. We didn't make our own luck. But to hear him say, this is an opportunity at redemption. He said, I know that I think maybe I can pitch in. And if I can help Rich finish the job and go out and do the impossible or what the world sees as impossible, and maybe new age, old age, whatever, if West Virginia can find a path to compete and maybe win a national championship, that's on the table. Why not? When you hear Pat McAfee say it, right? And he's saying, and I can't help but think, Rich is thinking the same thing. I had never even considered that. And that was, to me, that makes everything that he said just incredible, even better, because you have this horrible, ugly, wretched ending that just fractured this incredible relationship between Rich and the fan base. And to hear him say that and speak about redemption in those terms, look, there's going to be some growing pains because some people think, okay, well, he did this or he did that. And I just believe it one way or the other. And I've been sold on it for 17 years. And my mind's made. There might be some merit to people saying that my mind's made up. I'm not going to change it. Fair enough. But over the course of time, I would like to believe what we had before, on some level, you can work back towards that. There have to be explanations. There have to be more transparency. All these things that couldn't be done then because of gag orders and everything else. Well, some of that maybe can be done now or moving forward in the future. Who knows what unfolds? Who knows what's said? Who knows what's explained? But it was very frustrating. I almost wish that when that all unfolded in December of 2007, I didn't have the access that I did. And I could have just easily washed my hands and walked away and said, enough's enough. I hate that guy. But unfortunately, I did have a lot of access. And I'm like, wow, this is terrible. This is ugly. I can't believe how this is all unfolding. I wish I could change it. I mean, I thought one of the things that he needed to do and he wasn't allowed to do was hold a press conference immediately. If that's why you're leaving, hold a press conference immediately. Take it to the fans of West Virginia, let them decide, you know? But again, there are legal circumstances on both sides. That wasn't as easy as I make it sound. So it was a terrible situation that he left under. Terrible. And that's why Stu's the hero that he is to Mountaineer fans, to West Virginians through and through, because Stu, he's akin to a folk legend like Owen, because in our darkest hour after that happened, Rich reached out for salvation to escape his darkest hour, and I think in the wrong ways because of how it ended. But here comes Stu to rescue us and defy the odds with Owen and Pat and Noel. And that's why Stu's so revered, for the same reason that Rich was not when he left. So that's part of the story that is going to be, I'm sure, fleshed out, discussed. People will maybe hear some things about it they didn't before. I don't know. I have no idea. I haven't sat down and talked to Rich and said, what's your strategy? What's your plan? Winning games is going to get more people on board.
I was just going to say that same thing.
But you know what? It takes some growing pains to get to those wins. And it's always difficult. You don't want to make it more difficult while you're trying to get to those wins.
The one thing that I want to say about that is, and I've said this before too, if social media was as big as it is today back then, I wonder how different that situation would be. Because if you go on Twitter now, anything that happens, whether it's someone gets arrested or someone did this or that, there's so much curiosity out of people, and they start to poke and prod, and they start to find some things on the internet that may or may not be true. So I think if that would have happened then, and Twitter was, I don't even know if Twitter was around in 2007. I don't think so. But if it was, it wasn't a big thing now.
Wasn't it 2009?
Might have been. So
I think the only real social media back then was MySpace, and that wasn't even anything
social
media is today. That was like, what's your favorite song and who are your best friends?
Yes.
So I mean, I think that could have played a factor and made it a little bit different. You probably would have found some more people. I mean, you got people that literally just have burner accounts to go find things to prove things wrong or prove things right. So that's a part of it. But I got to say this. I can't help but think how we just missed on seeing Garrett Green in a Rich Rod offense.
Oh,
and I know Rich Rod's going to find his quarterbacks, whether it's Nico, Khalil Wilkins, or somebody else moving forward. But, man, did that kid not embody what it meant to be a Rich Rodriguez quarterback. That would have been a lot of fun to watch.
Through and through. I mean, anytime he would trade a cover zero hit in the face for a cross-face throw, and I saw him do it a couple times late in the season, he and I would have these quick one-off conversations, and it's kind of a unique experience, but you get right away. You either are willing to do that or you're not. Yeah. And if you're willing to do it, you're my guy. You know what I mean? You're my guy. And I've said so many times that's been the case. But that's a great point, Schuyler. You know, again, he was very flawed in how he handled all this. There's no doubt about it. I can't defend the nature in which he did what he did. But once it got legal, it was just going to get ugly.
It was a one-sided
thing. There was no way. It was no longer just going on to another job. It was going to get ugly. Once there's litigation and the two sides are at odds and they're trying to make the other side look bad and they're trying to do this and when, that's the unfortunate part. And again, he's not faultless there. So, and I don't think he'd claim to be, but I just hope that over the course of time, we can be effective enough between the lines to get the resulting wins that everybody so desperately wants, to be meaningful, not just in the Big 12, but hopefully you're working towards on the national stage. And in an era where we see Iowa State overachieving and signing Matt Campbell to an 8-year, 10-year extension. What was it, 8 years through 2032?
Yeah.
And in an era where you have the top tier schools in the conference are in pretty good standing from a coaching standpoint. And if you can get clicking with something and activate some of the dollars that we haven't had, I just think the timing's good for it. But winning will solve most of it. I don't know if all of it will ever entirely be solved, but I think a better understanding on both sides would help. we'll see where this goes. But again, this isn't just going to be the 800-pound gorilla or the elephant in the room that nobody discusses. That's not going to happen. I mean, there are going to be discussions or conversations about this. Some of these things on some level are going to be addressed in some channels. I don't know what shape that will take. I have no idea. But because there are people who are disenchanted over this hire. Period. Right. So how do you rectify that? Well, first of all, you rectify it by winning games, but how do you make it a little easier along the way in your pursuit of getting to the point where you're trying to win those games? That's the question I'm at. Yes, when you win enough, it solves almost all those issues. But you don't just show up and immediately blow 12 teams in a row out. All right. Yeah. There's going to be some growing pains. I don't know what that looks like, but I think we can win relatively quickly because of the situation of the program. I don't know what relatively quickly means. Okay. So any coach is typically afforded some sort of honeymoon. I don't know if the honeymoon will be as considerable under these circumstances. And that's what I'm getting at. And that's fair. That's fair. So if you're at odds over it and you're feeling it out, first of all, if you're still listening to this podcast at this point, you're giving it a fair shake. No doubt about it. So you're open-minded, no doubt about it. So let's see where it goes. Let's see what's said. But winning will solve everything. It's just I did ESPN Texas recently, and they asked me about this situation, about the different candidates, about this, about that, and they said, "Hey, do you think Rich could ever come back after what happened?" And I kind of walked them through the situation where the fans are on it. There's some division, but I also brought up, I say, what strikes me is there's a uniformity. It seems to me, maybe with a couple exceptions, and Owen, you can speak to this with greater clarity than I can, with former players. They seem to be in lockstep and unison by and large in favor of him. I haven't heard a lot of dissension there. And that kind of speaks to me about that. It speaks to me that his former players, including those on the team that happened to, are the ones loudest about getting him back. So that's meaningful to me. I would, on some level, yes, I was adjacent to it. I wasn't directly in on it, but I was adjacent to all these things as they unfolded, but I wasn't on the team. So I would be deferential to Owen, to Pat, to Steve, to Pat White, as well as Pat McAfee, to any of those former players. Reed Williams, yeah, anybody want to name. So I just thought we'd be remiss if we didn't mention that at some point as we discuss all this, because that's going to be part of the discussion.
It kind of reminds me of Harry Doyle from Major League, right? When he says, it's amazing what a uniform change can do for a guy.
Yes.
Mike Lorello.
It's just so funny. Can you believe this? We're sitting here getting ready to tape. And we're like, all right, we got to tape a reaction episode. And I just give Owen by the way, shoot Pat a text, see what he says. It can't hurt. I never in a million years thought this would come together. I didn't. And he said, wait a minute. He texted
for our
back.
Audience,
he said,
that is literally how this happened. We all jumped on this Zoom call. We were like, this isn't going to be formal. We'll do 45 minutes, whatever, just instant reaction, no format, nothing. Hey, we should try and get Pat on soon. Owen shoots him a text. Hey, Pat wants to jump on right now. Bang, let's do it. That's how this all came together in about 4 minutes.
And then we're going back and forth. Well, okay, what do we do here? Just get him on. We'll worry about it later. So we started rolling, and we weren't even taping.
I think that's a he hopped on like we were in the middle of a live show, and we had to be like, wait, like hold on. Let us hit the record button.
Absolutely.
But I think that's a good way to wrap this up too.
Yeah.
I know with the McAfee bump, the just in general, Rich Rodriguez, WVU fans wanting to, it's a major moment, right? Wanting to get reaction, wanting to consume this. I'm sure a lot of you are listening to this podcast for the first time, or maybe just the second or third time. Welcome to the party, okay? In the gun, Jed Drenning, Beer Truck, Big Owen Schmitt, Schuyler Callihan. I'm Wes Uhler. We have got we've got an episode that we did last year with Rich Rodriguez, talking to him and during the offseason when he was still at Jacksonville State.
Yeah.
We've got a bowl preview episode dropping. We've got Phil Steele, the czar of college football, his thoughts on the playoffs and everything going on with WVU dropping here. So make this your new favorite WVU football podcast and come hang out with us 2 or 3 times a week, because we keep this thing humming even throughout the offseason, especially this offseason now, and there's certainly going to be a lot of moving and shaking.
Something tells me Owen's going to have a few more former teammates on here before this is over, because there's a lot to chew on. But I think we'd also need to go ahead.
We also have an episode from this past summer, just I guess now it's been 5 months or so, with Pat White and Steve Slayton as well too.
Yeah, and we have Philip Bowen, we have Charles Wesley Godwin. All Owen's rowdy friends. But I do think, real quick, and we'll close this out, Wes, I'll throw it back to you, but we have to consider the logistics of the timing here, okay? Because it was a pressing matter. You look at the situation with our roster. So right now, the portal window opened on Monday the 9th. So that activated the portal. Well, you worry about acquisitions, talent acquisition in the portal, but you also worry about roster retention. Well,
man, we got to get him back.
Retention is difficult. So here are your windows. This is what you got to think about. And this is what personnel people
real quick.
At,
that was a Trotter. We got to get him back there from Big O.
Okay, Trotter, we got to get him back. He's in the portal, and don't rule anything out. Who knows? But different kids enter for different reasons. But Josiah Trotter did it the right way. So who knows what plays out there? But I'll say this: you only have limited opportunities for official visits from kids in the portal. So here's what you're looking at. First of all, not only did West Virginia staff do yeoman's work putting together a class of 21 signees, including 2 that were flipped without a head coach, not only did they do that, but in addition to that, when you look at other colleges, other programs right now that lost their head coach, Arkansas lost 25 players in the portal. Mississippi State, 22 kids in the portal, okay? West Virginia, at least as we're taping, 4 kids in the portal. So I don't know what's more impressive without a head coach, to sign 21 kids in your signing class, or to only at this juncture have 4 kids in the portal. Now, here's the concern. You could have an exodus after your bowl game. That often happens. So if we have an additional 5, 10, 15 kids, here's what you're up against. You need to quickly address how you're going to fill those spots on your roster, which means you need to look in the portal and quickly get kids to visit campus in Morgantown. And you only have so many weekends in the portal window to do that. So timing was critical here. Wren recognized, look, I don't want to rush this, but I also have to kind of be quick about it. Right. So the fact that he's pulled it off in the span of days that he did, it was just over. Wes, I think you mentioned this. How long was the process to hire Darren DeVries? 7 days. This is
same exact amount. Yep. 11 days.
So
he said, right, he used that famous John Wooden quote in his press conference.
Yes,
take your time, but hurry up.
Yeah, take your time. Yeah, be quick, but don't hurry. So that's exactly right. So yeah, it was critical that every day matters in terms of now you have to do interviews with your personnel. I mean, there's going to be kids coming in asking our personnel department, hey, I want this deal instead of that one. Without a head coach, you can't okay or sign off on any of those. So you need a head coach in that position. That will be the most pressing order of business, first and foremost, to take care of those situations on your roster, both inbound and outbound. So timing mattered there. I wanted to hit that logistical point as we wrap this up. So I'm glad this didn't drag on for another 2, 3, 4 days, which it easily could have, and that would have been understandable if it did, but I'm glad it didn't, and Ring got this done in a very reasonable fashion.
And we got a bowl game next week.
Oh yeah, by the way. Yeah.
We will have our bowl preview dropping in a couple days. Phil Steele to tee up the bowl season and the playoff season for us as well too. But I tell you what, this one's going to go down in the history books here in our about 18 months or so in the history of this ITG podcast. This might be the one, fellas.
We started in the summer of 22.
Oh, you're right. No.
Yeah.
Did we start I thought it was the summer of 23.
Daniels. No.
Yeah.
You're skipping a year. Yeah, right. You're skipping a year.
I am skipping a year. So it's been the 28 month or ish history,
whatever it be,
of this podcast.
Yeah.
This one's going to be tough to beat. I mean, when we have Pat and Rich and everybody on after we win the Big 12 and go on a run in the playoff, that'll top this. But this one's going to be tough to beat. Thanks to Pat McAfee for jumping on with us. We all know how busy that dude is from football to his show to WWE. So thanks to Pat for jumping on here for Schuyler Callihan, for the beer truck Big O, and for the signal caller Jed Drenning. I'm Wes Uhler. The one thing we all ask of you, the one thing Pat McAfee would want you to do, is to be an ear and tell an ear about your new favorite WVU football podcast. Plenty more to come. We ain't going anywhere. Take care. We'll talk to you soon. You've been in the gun.
ITG.
The fun doesn't have to stop here.
Be sure to hit subscribe and never miss an episode.
If you have any questions, suggestions, or feedback,
be sure to follow us on X at In the Gun Podcast.
Join us again next time.
Until then,
tell an ear to tell an ear about your new favorite WVU football podcast.
This mission is over. It's over.